Well, today was an interesting day. So Saturday, April 22nd. Yesterday, we had snow in Calgary. I kid you not. I didn't want to drive my car because of the summer tires, but it was snowing on and off, but not like big deal, but a couple of millimeters, but still very miserable. Today, I checked the weather forecast. It was supposed to be good, and actually it is. It's pretty sunny. As you can see, I'm sitting outside of Applebee's over here, just about to go to have some lunch. So I made some money today. But the first meet did not go as planned. So I was talking to this guy, Cliff. I'm not sure how they come up with these names. And you'll see what I mean in a second. But so this guy is in Edmonton, right? He's like 3.5 hours away. And he wants to come and get my lens. Like I have this Canon 85mm, like professional portrait lens 1.4. And so this guy wanted to come over. We agreed on the price. And I'm still making kind of like a couple of $100 more. This is one of those resale lenses, right? Where I bought it, what is it, like 2 weeks ago. And then I thought I would put it on Amazon. And turns out Canon is a restricted brand, so you cannot do it unless you have like 10 or 15 of them. Canon, Panasonic, I think Tamron. Like whenever you try to put it on your store, it doesn't work. And so now I sell them privately. So this guy finally had this kind of like solid buyer who's interested. He asked me a few questions, and the kind of questions you get when you're trying to sell it online privately, it can be mind-boggling. One guy asked me, and I kid you not, he says, "Did this lens come from a smoke-free home? I have an allergy." Like, first off, even if you're a smoker, like, how are you gonna, take pictures while smoking, right? Like, you have to hold your camera like this. You cannot smoke while taking pictures, but maybe he meant like there was so much smoke inside the house that somehow it would rub off on the lens. And I couldn't tell him, right? This guy, like, he's texting me. I said, I have no idea, honestly, but I don't smoke myself, so I would hear it, but I didn't feel any smoke smell from the lens. Like, what? But this guy from Edmonton, okay, so he wanted to come during the week, but then he says, since he's already coming, so he wants to take this lens and test it kind of like in the mountains, right? Because the BC mountains, they're pretty far from Edmonton, but they're only an hour away from Calgary. And so he said, I want to go in the mountains with this lens, after I got it from you. And so the weather was not good during the week, like it was snowing, right? And so he says, let's do Saturday. He says, I can be there at 9:30, 10 o'clock. And I said, okay, a quick question. How are you going to pay? Right? And the guy says, I'll bring a bank draft, which is in the States known as an official bank check. But here in Canada, we call them bank draft. It's good as cash. I said, no, sir, not gonna work. Trust me, I've been doing this for a long time. Bank drafts can be fake as well, because I was told this when I was depositing a bank draft that I used to think that they were like solid, like official bank check, but turns out my bank told me, no, you have to be careful, because when you show up at your bank with a bank draft, they still run their checks. They put it in that special machine, they check for watermarks and stuff like that. And so that's when I learned that bank drafts are not actually a very reliable way to receive payment. And so I have never met this guy, right? So this guy is crazy guy coming from 3 hours away to buy the lens, and he doesn't want to do cash. I said, what about Interac email transfer? Like, that's the most popular way here in Canada. You can send the money from your bank app on your phone to anybody. All you need is their email address. and they receive it within like 5 minutes, and then you get a notification on your phone, money deposited, right? Because like on my case, I set up automatic deposit. So if somebody sends me money like that, my bank deposits it right away, as long as they use the correct email address and the proper spelling of my name, right? And this guy says, I don't have, I'm not set up for email interact transfer, which is, you know, first flag, right? So I said, okay, let's meet at the bank. I said, what bank are you with? He gives me the name, same bank I'm dealing with. So I said, okay, there's a bank near me, so let's meet over there. I'll show you the lands, and then we go inside, and you just take the money and just put it into my account. You know how they can do like internal transfer? So I can just bring my, my debit card, right? And said, I don't want to touch your money. You just take it from your account, give it to the lady behind the counter, and she puts it into my account. Okay, that will work. All right. So he texts me at 7 o'clock today. Says he's on his way. He says, I should be there at 9:30, 10 o'clock. Okay. So I went to Starbucks. Oh, and I went this morning. I slept very well. Just for once, didn't wake up single time during the night. At 6:30, I'm like up, and I'm thinking, okay, it's been a while since I did any Nordic walking, so I have time till this guy gets here. So I drove in my car to a nearby school where they have a huge stadium over there. Like it takes 10 minutes, so it's pretty much a kilometer, like 3/4 of a mile, to do this huge loop, on the grass with my poles. So I did 3 loops, so 3 kilometers, just under 2 miles. Feel pretty good. And then this guy emails me. He says, hey, I'm here. I'm at the bank. Okay, so I'll be there in 5. So I show up there, and this guy Cliff, he's Chinese, right? And okay, I said, so what do you want to do? You want to go into the McDonald's maybe? Like, why are we doing this in the parking lot? Like crazy. No, it's okay. Let's do it here. So I bring the lens. He starts looking at it, and he starts kind of like half smiling, making jokes that, well, of course, Sigma is better. And I'm like, wait, what? Like, you're here to buy a Canon 85mm lens, and the first thing he says me is that Sigma is better. I said, really? I said, but it's way heavier than this. This is a L lens. L as in Larry, premium Canon lens. And then he tells me that he doesn't really need 85 millimeters. He says it's a portrait lens. I'm looking for my telescope. I said, telescope? What do you mean telescope? You mean telephoto, like long range? He says, yeah, I'm trying to shoot more wildlife. So now it makes sense to me why he wanted to visit mountains, because I was thinking, what is he gonna do? What's he gonna do in the mountains with 85 millimeter lens? And so first he says that Sigma is better. So the guy drives 3 hours. And then he says that Sigma is better, and that actually that he does not need 85 millimeters. And then he takes off, like there's a filter there, so he takes off all the caps, and it's a pretty heavy lens. And I said, please don't drop it, okay? Oh yeah, he says it's okay. If I drop it, I'll buy it. Some people are just. Hold on one second. Sorry about that. Some lady was trying to park like this next to me, I don't like it when they park this close. Try to stay away from everybody in my shiny blue Hellcat. So anyway, so this guy, then he takes off everything. I don't know why. I said that it comes with a free clear glass filter, right? So most people buy it, to protect the lens. And this lens, brand new, is 2,200 Canadian. Right, I'm selling it for $1,250, so $1,000 off, and this guy is still complaining. And then he takes everything off, all the caps, and he takes a flashlight, and he starts looking from the top, from the bottom. I said, like 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes, he's still looking. Puts his glasses on. Chinese guy with the name of Cliff. And so finally I lose my patience and said, okay, sir, can I please have the lens back? So I take the lens, I put back the clear filter, the caps, put it in the bag, and I said, have a good weekend, sir. Oh, you too. And so I go home just to drop off the lens. And I check my email on the big computer, and somebody's again talking to me through this private, portal. Some guy sends me a message about my drone. Is it available? I said, yes, sir. It's available. $400. And the guy says, can we meet at a Mercedes parking lot? I'm telling you, that's why I'm doing this video, because it's kind of like a big adventure, like let's meet at the Mercedes dealer parking lot on Country Hills Boulevard. I said, when? 20 minutes. Okay. So I take my drone. Says, I wanted to fly, but I'm near the airport. It takes a very long time to relearn because it's pretty complicated. So you have to fly these, all the time. Pretty much, like I noticed that if I don't fly it, let's say 2-3 weeks, then it's a struggle to get it back, get your skills back. But it did work very well. It's a nice drone. So I gave him, I said $400 Canadian, but I'll give you're getting a free case, like a hard case, like travel case, which I think I paid like $100 for, on Amazon. And then I said, you're getting an extra battery for the drone. That was also like $70-80. And I'm going to throw in 256 gig micro SD card. Like you pretty much have everything you need. And some people were still complaining. Like one guy was saying, oh man, it's first generation Mavic Mini. So how about 300? So no, how about 500? Like what these people, like they never respect the price, like at least here in Canada on Kijiji. So you put $1,000 price, some idiot will always come out and say, I have 350. Can we do 350? I can pick it up today. So basically, the guy shows up, Indian guy in a Tundra pickup truck with his whole family, with his son. He probably brought over for protection in case I decide to jump him and take the $400 off him. And so we meet in this parking lot of Mercedes dealer, and I open the trunk, show him the drone, open the box, I said, you see, everything is good, but I said, you cannot fly it here because we're too close to the airport. So this thing will not fly. It has restrictions built in. But I showed him, I said, you see all the propellers, they're not blocked, everything spins. Very nice drone. I said, this is your free micro SD card. This is your spare battery. These are all the cables, everything. Everything looks brand new. So I use it like maybe, I don't know, 4 times. When I was still a trucker, it's probably 2 years old. So the guy gives me $400. I give him the drone. Boom. So basically what's funny is that with this private business, selling business, quite often you think that something would be easy, right? So I thought this China, made in China Cliff was coming to buy the lens, right, for $12.50. And then the first thing he says, it's he actually likes Sigma, and he doesn't really need 85mm lens, right? And so bye-bye Cliff, okay? But then this drone was never in the books until like 20 minutes before the meeting. Boom, sold, okay? And then I got a couple of offers about the camera. Some lady photographer, she does wedding photography, emailed me. I look up her Facebook profile. I see like she's a serious photographer, like professional one. And she was interested, but she said she's not sure if she wants to switch to mirrorless. Is it available? I said, yeah. Well, the price is good, but I'm not sure I want to switch to mirrorless. Like some people, like, why are you asking if it's available if you're not sure, right? But anyway, So those are two transactions. But the funniest one, and I just came back from that, was the last one, which was supposed to be a transaction. So basically, you saw that I was mentioning this, that I'm selling my overpriced Italian Dino Buffetti, right? This Garmoshka, because somehow I started losing interest, and really I don't make, I've been doing it for what, like over a year with a couple of big gaps. I got this one in July 22. And then before that one, I had a black one, and then I had a green one. So I think like it's almost, close to 2 years, and I still cannot, I can barely play because I really don't like this two row setup, because when I was a kid, 9 years old, I played bayan, right? Bayan, it's a 3-row accordion, like a full size. And of course, now I'm not 9 years old anymore. I'm 61. But still, like, it was constant struggle with these buttons, And so I started looking at these digital accordions, like piano accordions, right? Like roll and stuff like that. And watched a couple of videos, and it actually, the system, their layout of the notes makes actually much more sense, like especially on the bass. It's easier to play, even though they have like 10 times more buttons, but the way they're organized, it's totally different. It's way more intuitive, way simpler than on this Russian Garmoshka, right? And that's why I try to sell it. I wanted to get this Roland FR1X, which here goes for 4,000 Canadian. So I thought, okay, I'm gonna sell that overpriced Italian one for, let's say, for $5,000. I'll get this one for $4,000. I still on top, with $1,000, I can put in the bank, pay for the Hellcat, right? Except nobody wants it. Nobody wants that Italian accordion because it's super specific one. But anyway, I thought I would get a cheap piano accordion while this one is selling. Hopefully it'll sell one day. So I thought, okay, I started looking on Kijiji, Craigslist, and started looking on Facebook Marketplace. And as soon as you type in the word accordion, there's like hundreds of them, hundreds. Used like new, or new, whatever. It's like prices are like from $150 to, I don't know, $8,000. And so I got hooked up with this one guy, because each accordion I click on, it's the same guy, Jimmy, then his last name. And so I started texting him. I said, hey, how many accordions do you have? Because I see you everywhere on Facebook. Like, what's going on? And he says, well, I started importing accordions from Europe when I was like 18 years old. He says, then I was a technician. I was a musician. He had a store. And then he says, after the fire, that's how he worded it in the text message. I'm not kidding. Like, that's kind of people you deal with. But the guy says, after the fire, I had to move everything into my house. What fire, right? But he doesn't say. He doesn't give you like an introduction. Hey, we had a fire at my store. No, he says, he's talking, and then out of the blue, after the fire, I moved everything into my house. And I said, okay. Well, I said, how about like a 3-reed or 4-reed, decent accordion that doesn't have holes and all the buttons work, just for me to get started, because now I found a couple of, accordion books, like Teach Yourself Accordion. And then I found a cool website. The guy's in Canada. You can sign up, and he has like video lessons about this piano accordion, like $20 US a month, but you have access to all the lessons, and then have a forum. You can talk to other guys, that also learning. So it's pretty cool, like a whole community. And the guy's here in Canada. I think he's somewhere in BC. Very cool guy. I watched a couple of his videos on YouTube. I kind of feel like I already know the guy, And so now he has a school where he's teaching, adults. He says it's different than teaching kids, because you are guys adults. So yeah, I want to sign up for that, right? And so I text this guy, Jimmy, I said, hey, ETA 12 o'clock. Give me the address. Okay, I show up there, and he says, look for the big gate. I look around, it's like a cul-de-sac, like the dead end. I don't see any big, he says, go through the big gate. And I thought he meant in the car. So I'm looking for the big gate. Like, what is this guy? What kind of a mansion does he have that there's a big gate you have to go through? Like, in my mind, I see those mansions with a 10-foot tall fence. There's nothing like that over there. But he gave me the house number, right? So I see, okay, 123, 125, and he said 127. I don't see 127, but I see 129, 131. So I call him. Jimmy, I'm outside. I said, I think I'm lost. Like, where are you? Oh, he says, yeah, 127. Look for you see the Lincoln car and like a SUV. What is that one? Basically like a fancy SUV, but it's like 50 years old, all rusted. And his Lincoln is all rusted and it's all sitting on flat tires. So I said, where do I park? He says, well, park behind them. Okay, so I park behind them, so not to block, people that want to turn around or something. And there's a gate, which is like this tall. So basically it's kind of like a pedestrian gate. And I look inside, and first of his house, like you look at the roof, all the roof is like, very old. I see lots of damage, probably from hail or something. And then I look behind the gate, because he says he'll be 2 minutes. He says, just give me 2 minutes, I'll come out. And inside the gate, it's like his yard is basically covered in junk. Some part of the house is covered with a tarp. I'm serious, like one of the windows, like there's a huge tarp over one corner of this building. And I see like, I don't know, old bicycles, like unbelievable stuff. And this is a pretty expensive area because he's not too far from downtown. And I'm standing there. I don't know what to do. Like, shall I wait for him or? Because it doesn't look very promising. These cars pretty much almost on blocks, And then finally he shows up. And as soon as we walk inside, this guy pretty much is like a hoarder, right? You know how those videos, how you have these shows on TV, right? About this hoarding disease, right? And this guy has boxes everywhere, so we barely made it in. Everything is dark with a couple of lights, like his windows, the curtains are all drawn, like unbelievable. But I see he's a okay guy. He's not like a psycho or a serial killer, but he's probably like my age. But inside the house, it's like he had a wife and she died 200 years ago, and he forgot how to clean. And so there's a small room and he has like 5, and I brought the camera with me because I thought, this guy says he has 200 accordions. I thought I would make a video about this, right? But we walk in, and this semi-dark room, like with the curtains drawn and one light, and I see he has like 5 or 7 of them. But, they look pretty if you don't pay too much attention, like Italian, German, like, and he says, I brought out 7 with 3 reeds, because 3 reeds, like LMM or LMH, like low, medium, high, because I know what I'm looking for. I know I want like musette, tremolo, kind of like, something they use in French, Italian music. And he says, I brought out from his huge collection, I assume, like 7. He says there are 3 reeds, so they're not too expensive, because 4 reeds are always much more money and they're very heavy. So anyway, so he starts playing each one of them, and I check the compression. You just lift them by the straps, and you look what happens with the bellows on the. They start moving right away because they're all old. So that means that leather that covers those reeds, it's all gone. So, and one of them, he's playing one of them, and one of the bass buttons gets stuck. And so, when you don't push anything, it starts making sound. I said, okay, that one is out for sure. Then one, he says, okay, this one is brand new. He says, I never sold this one. And he says, the only problem, it had a bad bass button. And he says, I moved it all the way to the bottom where you don't need it anyway. And I look at it, it's like yeah, it looks like new, except maybe it's like 10, 15 years old. But he says he never sold it. So nobody ever played on it. But at the very bottom, one of the black bass buttons is missing. It's like, and I asked him before, I said, you're a technician as well, right? You repair these things. So if it's a brand new accordion, why didn't change the button? What, you don't have these buttons? You cannot attach the button? And so, I was pretty sure I would get something there. So I brought like $400 with me, and I thought if I find something really interesting, let's say maybe $1,000, I'll just give him a deposit and then go find the bank, and bring cash, or maybe I can pay him via this Interact money transfer, right? But everything is very poor compression, everything is old, even though he calls it new, missing buttons, basically junk, junk. And with these, if somebody's into accordions, one thing you probably know is that these are very complicated instruments. There's like thousands of parts inside, and so you can buy one for like $200, $100, and then like on eBay somewhere, and then you'll spend $1,000 or $2,000 to fix them, because you need to, let's say you need to replace those reeds or those levers, on the bass side or something, or the most expensive one is like the bellows. But yeah, this was funny. Like, the guy is a hoarder with cars outside almost on blocks, and part of the window, part of the house is tarped, but he advertises on Facebook and lots of pictures and claims to have 200 accordions. But like I said, I only saw 7, and that was enough for me. I was just trying, to be polite. I said, okay, Jimmy, thank you very much for showing me these. I'll have to think about it, because I'm still trying to decide what exactly I want, and I'll get back to you. And I mentioned this other guy I found. He has a retail store in Victoria, BC, where actually I wanted to drive there, like in a rental car. Don't want to, put mileage on my Hellcat, right? And this Jimmy guy, he says, oh, I know that guy. He says his father opened that store, and then when the father passed away, the son took over. And he says, be careful, because I told him about my, dilemma trying to sell this specialized Russian accordion, right, garmoshka. And he says, if I were you, I would not give it to him, because he says there's still people that gave him accordions and they're still looking for them. So basically, a typical pitch, where you're talking to a sales guy and you mention another sales guy, and he would try to bring him down, saying that guy is really bad, you cannot trust him. So basically, I'm guessing he wants me to buy an accordion from him. He doesn't want me to go to this guy Martin in BC. So yeah, be careful. He says some people gave him accordions and they're still looking for them. So basically, all in all, it's been a very entertaining Saturday here in Calgary. So yeah, so first I had the guy from Edmonton, right, who actually wanted a Sigma lens, telephoto, but he came to buy my Canon 85mm. Then we had the quick sale with the drone, and then the accordion disaster, where a guy with 50-year-old cars showed me 20, 30, 40-year-old accordions, and he wanted, like, he says, okay, this one is like $399, this one is $899, and he shows me one accordion. He says, hey, I sold this accordion to the guy when he was a boy. Let me say that again. This guy is like 60, right? And he says, when he had a store before the fire, he sold that accordion to the guy when he was a boy, and when he, lost interest, he gave the accordion back to him. And I said, how old is that guy now? 60? Because that accordion looked like it was, I don't know, 40, 50 years old. And that's the problem, right? So first off, most of these were brought from Europe in 50s and 60s, right, when there was accordion craze, right? And so now we are 2023, and there's quite a few of these junk instruments. You know, they still look good because people bought them, they never played them, but they kept them somewhere in a basement, so there's damage inside that you cannot see unless you know how, you know, what telltale signs you're looking for. And so I'm telling you, it's like, but new ones are too expensive. New ones, the one I want is like $4,000. It just I cannot afford that unless I sell, and that was the plan, right? I wanted to sell this Russian one and then buy this Roland, but I don't want to, you know, borrow again like $4,000 from my credit card to buy something, because I'm not sure when I'm gonna sell this Dino Buffetti. So anyway, that was my day, and it's only 1 o'clock now. So that was my day from 7 a.m. until now. So the good thing is that I feel pretty good because I did that Nordic walking thing, 3 kilometers. So now probably I'm going to this Applebee's, gonna go for some dry ribs, and then get back home and wait. Maybe somebody else will contact me because I have a lot of stuff listed online for sale. So, and that's why this video is called Buying and Selling. Thanks for watching.